Hey everyone, Ralston here, owner of Strive Academics, and welcome to Ahead of the Curve, Episode 2. Currently, we're live streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram Live, so we're still working out a couple of the kinks, so forgive me if we're a couple of hiccups here and there. But today, we're going to be talking about some of the resources that students can use while schools are engaged in distance learning. And I've collected a couple of resources, some that I've talked about before on our blog, as well as a couple of unique resources that I've found since. They're a mix of resources that are around throughout the year, in addition to resources that a few organizations are currently offering to students, specifically during this time. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So one of the first resources that I wanted to talk about is Cold Turkey. This is a unique one, and I think it's going to be very helpful for students right now, especially those who are struggling with some of their study habits. As we all know, working on our own can sometimes be difficult. Both students and adults alike have a lot of trouble keeping themselves to task. So I particularly love this resource, Cold Turkey, because what it allows you to do, they have a couple of products, but mainly for students, what it allows you to do is set a couple of parameters of websites that you're allowed to visit, or lock down your screen specifically for typing or whatever kind of work you're trying to get done. And basically, it just won't allow you to use certain websites. So if you know that getting on Facebook is a problem while you're trying to get some work done, Cold Turkey will help you, will actually force you from accessing that website. And so this is a particularly useful study tool for students that are just spending too much time doing other stuff than keeping on task. Now, the next resource that I wanted to talk about is one just to help you stay a little bit focused too, because I know some of us love to stay on track with a little bit of music while we're studying. So two resources I wanted to mention is either Noisely or Spotify. Noisely is a service specifically tailored to this. It allows you to create your own playlists up to, I believe it's an hour and a half of streaming per day. So you're able to create some ambiance while you're studying. And you can set it to your mood or however it is. But of course, we know a lot of other options like Spotify, as I mentioned before, have playlists where you're able to set, people have organized their own playlists for studying. Personally, I love lo-fi playlists if I'm going to use a playlist in the first place, but usually I just study in silence as I'm getting some work done. But Spotify, Noisely, even YouTube, a lot of people curate their own YouTube playlists as well. And there are a lot of great study playlists out there. So if you're someone that likes a little bit of background music, can't focus in just the silence, these are great resources for you as well. Now, for people who want to make their learning a little bit more fun, or perhaps study with some classmates, the next resource I want to mention is a great alternative to that. Kahoot, as many students may be aware of, maybe you've used it in class before, Kahoot is a great resource where you're able to create educational games and quizzes and play either on your own or against some friends. So I believe the free version allows you to go up to 10 people per game, but I also know that during this time, Kahoot is offering their service, their premium service, free to schools in addition to that. So they're allowing them to create even more extensive games and use some of their more premium features during this time. Now, the next resource I want to talk about is one of my favorites. I always use Quizlet, especially for studying when it comes to things like vocabulary or just anything that requires a lot of memorization. Now, the basic Quizlet, many students are probably also familiar with, but oftentimes I find myself forgetting some of its functionalities, or even that it's just out there in the first place. So Quizlet allows you to create digital flashcards. makes it great for studying. But in addition to that, they have some premium features that will allow you to make some more interactive games, kind of similar to Kahoot, but also some interactive study materials. Great for teachers out there, or people who are homeschooled, or even the students who are just more inclined to make something interesting with their resources. So one second, having a couple of hiccups with our Instagram feed. But next I wanted to go into a resource that I found recently. It's called TymKeer, and this one is more for STEM related studies. So TymKeer is a great resource for students who are interested in learning a little bit more about the STEM field and so on. So I'm actually going to bring it up on my web browser here. You'll be able to see this if you're in the either my YouTube or my Facebook live stream, but I'm actually going and share my screen. Sorry for those of you who are on either Facebook or YouTube. Accidentally hit a button, but I want to go ahead and just show this particular resource as I found it. So just taking a quick scroll. Apparently, I think I messed up the spelling of it. It's TymKeer, but it allows kids to study coding and other STEM-related fields in a more gamified way. So I think this is a pretty interesting resource, great for kids as young as 5 and up. But it's something that I found recently that I think could be really useful, especially if you've got a little more extra time on your hands. Great resource to learn a new skill. And speaking of that, one that I'm a little bit more familiar with, and I think is probably geared more towards a little bit of an older audience, but Code Academy is a great resource for anyone who's looking to learn coding as well. I've used it myself in the past to brush up on a few coding things. Code Academy is always a great resource, and it's been free before this, and I believe its plan is to remain free forever, basically. Now, this one, probably everyone's familiar with, YouTube. YouTube's a great resource out there. You've got to be a little bit more careful because not all resources are made the same. So with YouTube, you've probably got to do a little bit more searching to find something that's suitable to your needs. And one of the downsides with using something like YouTube as well is that you need to probably have a much better idea of exactly what you're searching for. Because if you don't know, for example, let's say two-step equations is what you're working on, or systems of equations, and you're not familiar with that name, then it's going to be pretty difficult for you to find the kind of content that's actually going to help you out there. So because it's not organized specifically for learning, it's going to be a little bit more difficult in that regard. But as we know, there's tons of free content on YouTube, some of which we're putting out ourselves for a variety of subjects. Pretty much anything that you can think of would be useful to learn on that website. Now, this next one's not a free resource, but it's one that I always keep coming back to, and I always recommend to students because I think that it is really a perfect resource for students who are looking for some more guided practice and are really looking for additional practice to work on particular subjects. So if you need to test yourself more instead of just doing the studying part, this is a great resource. And this one's called IXL. Many students are probably familiar with it. A lot of teachers of the students that I interact with often assign some coursework on IXL for homework. And so IXL is a really great utility. It offers a free version in which you're able to do a couple of problems in whatever area you have. So it offers courses, I believe, from K through 12 in all the core subjects. And additionally, I found they also offer some resources in Spanish as well. So I'm particularly excited about that. I may brush up on it myself with some of that. But if you're looking to do a little bit more than just the problems that they offer for free, then the subscription price is $10 a month for one subject, or $20 a month for all 4 of the core subjects. And it's great practice. It starts out easy with some of the more simple problems, and then progressively gets harder over time as you complete more and more problems to help you gain really that true mastery. And so it'll mix the problems up with a variety, which is something that I always like to do for our students as well, because that shows you that you're really understanding how to approach the problem from all sorts of different angles. And that's really the true test of whether you understand the content or not, right? So particularly, I love IXL2 because it also gives you immediate feedback. So say you get an answer wrong, well, IXL is going to show you first that that answer is incorrect, and then it's going to give you a breakdown of how you should have approached the problem. So I really love this particular tool exactly for that reason, because not only does it give you immediate feedback, but it also alternates the questions and gets progressively harder, which is exactly how I like to approach tutoring and instruction with my students as well. Now, onto a couple of resources that are doing things specifically during this term. Next one is Khan Academy. Now, many people know Khan Academy as a resource that's always free. It's a great nonprofit out there for education. But one thing that I recently saw while I was browsing on their website is that they're offering free courses every single day during this time. So while schools are closed and doing distance learning, Khan Academy is taking the opportunity to step in and really provide that education for students that need it or who need something more of like a guided instruction. And so if you go into their main, on their main page, just khanacademy.org, you'll probably see a pop-up first thing where it's talking a little bit about the guided classes that they're offering. And they have a schedule on a couple of different streams, but they're offering classes from, I believe, K through 12 as well, maybe some college classes, but I haven't particularly checked on that myself. But every single day from, I think it's somewhere around like 8:30 up until 4 or 5 p.m., they're having classes like on the hour every single day. And it's a really great resource for students that just need a little bit more support with some of the content that they've been learning throughout the school year. I think it's a great thing that they're doing, and I hope that they continue on with their mission to provide education to our students out there. And then last, I also wanted to mention for students taking more advanced classes, the College Board. So College Board, as you may know, is the creator of the SAT and as well as AP exams. And what the College Board is doing during this time is that they've created their own AP classes. So for students who were gearing up to take the AP exam and still have hopes to take that in the future, if you don't want to fall off track, because we know there's a lot of content covered on those tests, the College Board has stepped in and created their own AP classes online, kind of the same thing as Khan Academy, where they're creating streams every single day with different particular classes. So again, check that out on their website. It's on the homepage, collegeboard.org, where you can see a little bit more about what they're doing there. So those are most of the resources that I wanted to talk about. Of course, I've mentioned before that we have our own resources on our worksheet page offered on Teachers Pay Teachers, striveacademics.com/worksheets, as well as now Etsy, and in the future, many other places. And now our resources aren't free, but they're pretty low cost. Most of them ranging from $1 to $5. And we're constantly, especially during this time, trying to crank out as many of those resources as possible because we kind of want to help you fill that gap as well. Great for students who are homeschooled or looking for a little bit additional practice as well. So, I always love the content that we put out, of course, and we're always looking to make more free resources. In addition, I consider, sorry, this particular podcast and live stream one of our resources as well. And always keep checking back on our website and our blog for the many things that we're doing there, because we're constantly trying to keep you updated with the various resources that will really help you stay ahead of the curve and stay ahead of your peers as well. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about study strategy, as well as things that students can do to stay on top of their schedules while distance learning is still in effect. So that way our students aren't falling behind, because I know, like I mentioned up top, a lot of students, it can be difficult having to deal with your schedule and all the messages that your teachers are sending, as well as just everything coming from every which way. And sometimes some of that homework can just fall through the cracks. So I'll be talking a little bit about not only tools like I mentioned today, but some of the strategies that you can employ as well, just to make sure that you're staying on top of everything. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.